98.
98. What am I
98.
supposed to say?
That's your job.
My
You got
job.
to say it.
I have the job.
Yeah. Coming up on 100.
Yeah.
I have this strong desire to get to 100. See what I did there?
I see.
The topic of the day is desire.
Well, desire not from earthly standpoint, but kind of like more of Buddhist standpoint / in retrospect to earthly standpoint.
Right. Well, sure.
And so I'm still finishing my Osho book. And he basically talks about Tantra. And then in his ultimate opinion, Tantra is the ultimate teaching because it goes like beyond, it gets you the closest to like true enlightenment, I guess, if you want to say that there's even such thing, but without assigning a path to it. Like the whole point of Tantra is that there's no path to Tantra. There's no path to enlightenment. There's just being,
just
surrender, but not for the point of surrender, right? And he brings in Jesus's teachings and Buddha's teachings and compares them, and then brings in Christianity or just religious teaching to Judeo-Christian teachings as well.
Yeah. What does he have to say?
Oh, I'm supposed to say it? I thought you were going to say that you're also reading a Buddhist book.
I'm also reading Buddhist stuff, and I just read some stuff about the Buddha differentiated between two different types of desire. There's like the ignorant type of desire, and then there's the wise type of desire. And I think my layperson's understanding is that, well, at the same time, there's this recognition that desire and achieving your desire is temporary in nature. It just is. And so if you understand that I desire a new car or a new house or whatever it is, this is especially true for stuff. But even if it's I desire my health back, or I desire a relationship, whatever it is temporary by nature. Maybe it's at best case it's your whole life, but it's definitely not longer than that. Your car will eventually break and whatever. Everything is temporary. So using that to sort of taper desire into more of what it should be, and not just this like unleashed, like I want, and then you get it, and then it doesn't actually feel that great, and then you want more. That rat race that, especially in the West, people have tended to fall into.
Yeah, but to begin with, before you start any path of like self-awareness, the desire's only there to soothe your pain body.
Yes, it's a distraction.
Yeah. Distractions from not allowing yourself to feel what you actually feel.
Right.
So I think we can brushstroke past that one.
Right. That's the base level stuff.
Yeah, the base level.
But then it gets a little more interesting, because it's like, well, people who are seekers have a desire to learn more and to desire to become enlightened and this and that. And that's a form of desire too.
Yeah.
And maybe you desire to not have any desire. Well, that's really, really, a brain twister there, because it's like, how do you, at some point, it's like, how do you achieve something if you don't, let me word it this way, if you don't want to achieve it, if you don't have it as a goal to achieve it, how do you achieve it?
But what is the point of achieving? Why would you ever want to achieve something?
Achieve enlightenment?
Yeah, is there the fact that you even want to achieve something is already telling you that you're functioning out of some sort of desire that is trauma driven. Right? Why would somebody want to achieve enlightenment? That's not even something you achieve. That just happens when you let go of everything else that is not.
I mean, in the end, that's the answer. Is that
Yeah. So
it's a letting go that
maybe
gets
the
there.
question is, that's in Osho book. That's what he says. He says that like the teaching is letting go of everything, quite literally everything. And then what's at the end is basically
What's left?
what's left is what you are in fact pursuing, that is nameless, right? Let's say that's enlightenment, but without doing anything, and being an observer state of your action. But right, like this is one of the things that I now in retrospect see myself really kind of. It's interesting because I adapt that in because I thought that was a way forward, but at the same time now I realize like, oh yeah, that was just another step into idiocy. But like channeling yourself into the positive, like, oh, this is the path towards the light, or this is the path towards the betterment, or this is the path towards the letting go, right? And all of these things that you learn about yourself, I somehow like actualize them and deposit it into an idea of progress forward,
Right.
as opposed to just this idea that there's no such thing as progress and there's no such thing as forward. There's just shedding through acknowledgement.
Through
Acknowledgement that it's there.
Yeah, which like largely I think comes from like observing yourself.
Yeah, just awareness of self.
Yeah.
But that the path, the path to anything is just know thyself, right? And then he points out, know thyself, and then be the self that you truly are. Accept yourself as you are, right?
Right.
But at the same time, know your tendency, or know your desires, or know your right. Like
Right.
but accept them as they are.
Right. It's like, like the naive thing is like, oh, just I'm going to pretend I don't have desires. Like, no, you do. We all do. It just, accept you, even the parts that, maybe you don't like. I mean, that's
the most important one.
that's
You
the most
have
important thing, right?
I mean, I think that's literally the acceptance is the parts of you that you like.
Yeah, it's easy to accept the parts you do like.
Going back to K-pop demon hunters again.
Oh, I was going back to young, but we can do that instead.
Same thing. Young K-pop demon hunters. I think we're all on the same boat here.
Yeah, that's similar messages.
I think there's the same message. Or the world. His point, which I find so poetic, is that the universe is primed to always get you to the best destination possible. In fact, you came here with the purpose of reaching the best destination, which is just this connection to the oneness while you take on this human form.
Right. No, I do believe the universe is kind of has your back, kind of has everybody independently. The universe has their back.
Yeah.
It's got my back, it's got your back. It's everybody. And that doesn't mean that you won't stub your toe or crash your car or, die in a fire. That's not what it means. It means that at a higher purpose, it is pushing you forward toward where you are supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And, there will be ups along the way. There'll be downs along the way. What we would call ups and downs, but they're all there to help show you who you are, and I guess like help you realize who you are and accept it.
Yeah. Yeah. He mentions this, and I thought, like, is that even true? He said, like, when we're first born as children, we have to go into this social norm way of being in order not to be drowned by the world, right? Like you develop this hard shell, or you develop these parameters, or you fall into social norms in order to function in a society that has these norms.
And some sort of social adaptation.
Yeah, I guess to some extent. But then,
Conditioning, I guess.
conditioning, but then conditioning, you know,
I mean, sure. I mean, that's.
we've
That's
talked about that.
yeah.
Just the
Oh, when you meet
the
someone,
psychosis.
here's what you do because that's what we
Well,
do in
he
society.
he
But
just
even
he just
more,
meant on the overall brushstroke of like just to function in the society that has the norms, you kind of have to fall into the societal norms, right? Otherwise, you're not going to be a hermit in the cave, right?
right?
Um, and to do that, most people, his point is, get lost in that, like their identity gets lost to the social norms,
Yeah,
to the society, to the trauma, to the pain body, to all the ways that you shouldn't be.
yeah. No, I mean, and I think like if you grew up in certain religions, there's a whole lot of thou shalt nots that
Well, and yeah,
that are all laid on you, and people just sort of who grew up in it, who were born into it, really internalize that. And yeah, thou shalt not kill. That's probably a good one, but
well, no, his point is, as these social norms come in, right, we become lost to the actual essence of us, and we start being pushed and programmed towards this way and not this way. This is right and this is wrong. And so the duality just becomes split. And he actually says nothing pushes you away from knowing of self. Nothing pushes you away from knowing yourself more than religion.
I would agree with that. Yeah,
And so just basically through that force, we become lost to the sense of this is right and this is wrong. And the second you split something into right and wrong, as opposed to seeing it as is, you're lost,
right.
and you're back in that rat race of trying not to accept yourself as you are.
Yeah, yeah,
And he, his point too, which I'm like, oh yeah, I definitely fall into that, is the second you say, oh, I am this, like, oh, I accept this, I'm accepting of this, you're still in the wrong place, because then by default, there's no such thing as accepting. Because the truth is, the second you say you're accepting of this, then that means deep down you're still identifying that there's such thing as rejection of this. And the truth is, I guess his point is, you're actually rejecting it, but you're trying to, through social norms, say that you're accepting it. Because
you're trying to convince yourself that you're accepting it,
or others, whatever,
or even worse, others.
yeah. Versus there wouldn't have been a statement towards acceptance or rejection at all.
True acceptance is
Not even having that thought.
Right. Have you ever thought about I accept the air that is around me?
Yeah. So
it just is.
yeah. So the whole idea of acceptance within itself already has the duality of the fact that you're rejecting something.
Right.
Because truthfully, you wouldn't even say a statement, right? Even a positive statement, if indeed there was not a negative thought behind it.
Right.
Which is, he's saying, is actually more truth than the positive statement that you're trying to say out loud for whatever reason. It doesn't even matter reason. Yourself or others. It's a sales pitch to the world that is laced in lies, because deep down you're not accepting self.
Interesting.
And so like all notes, so this is what I thought was interesting, is like that all notions of desire that you have within you that come out of that split of right and wrong, or of duality in some sort of way, right, are like laced in actually in acceptance, right? The materialism, I need this car, is laced in because I'm in lack. I have to come across as this type of human, laced in because deep down I am not worthy, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not loved, or I have to be loved, right? Oh, because deep down I don't think I'm loved. Like anytime desire comes, there's not a way to look at it other than because on the other side I'm not X.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can see that. Yeah. I haven't thought about it like that before, but I like that.
No, but there's, right, if you think about it, there's not an explanation of desire outside of that parameter.
Right. I mean, if you want something, it's because you don't have it.
Well, but having it and wanting it means X.
Right. At a deeper level.
Deeper level,
I don't
right.
have it, but having it would then fulfill this hole that I feel like I have in me
Yeah.
of, you know, if I have this car, then people will think I'm cool or whatever it happens to be. And if people think I'm cool, then maybe I can finally think that I'm okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the simple one with materialism, right? But this
Right.
goes down to, oh, I'm all accepting. I accept all people, right? Religion, right, is like acceptance and whatever.
Some of them are.
So, well, let's say even if it's what you would think is a positive religion that tries to reinforce acceptance of all.
Yeah.
The fact that there's even a religion teaching such thing as acceptance mean that, and you're married to the idea. Oh, you know what? No, I am accepting of all. Well, that wouldn't even be a thought if there was such thing as unacceptance within you.
Right. I mean, when I was young, when I was young, the idea of like racism, it felt really weird, really strange. It was like, how did that happen? And it seems like it happened. It's here today because it was here yesterday, and it was there yesterday because it was there the day before, and it's just been propagated down. And it's like, if it wasn't there, it doesn't feel like it would start up. In that, in order, now, oh, I want to be accepting of all people. I don't want to be racist against these groups or whatever. And you almost have to like fight against, not that it's the norm, but it's relatively common, right? And you have to like go, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do the right thing, let's say. But but that's only because it happens to exist in the first place. I don't know where I was going with that.
You're asking how it started?
No, I mean, and it doesn't even matter how it started. The
blindness, if you loop back into the desire, acceptance or racism and not acceptance of others, let's say it's acceptance of others or not acceptance
Sure.
of others, the concept of duality, that there is even such thing as racism or
Yeah.
not acceptance of trans people or gay people,
Yeah.
stems in, let's say, even if it's acceptance or rejection, same thing. It's actually exact same thing. It's
Yeah.
the same coin of bullshit.
Yeah.
That it's either, if you accept the gay people, deep down that there's such thing as rejection. And if you reject the gay people, at least you're honest about it. Do you see what I mean? But the truth is, you're still in that state of rejection. Is that where you're going with that?
I guess I was going like, yeah, sure, racism. There was plenty of racism that I grew up with, and so I was familiar with it, but it always struck me as strange. But then, like, gay people, trans people, that I wasn't familiar with that. And then, like, when I heard some, bigoted things against them, it just struck me as what? Like, it didn't even make sense that that's a group to prejudice against.
Yeah.
So maybe that's like the place of it's that level of acceptance where it's like you don't even realize that you have to make a choice to accept or reject this group.
Yeah. Or the idea, the idea to you that this is a judgment to be made is foreign.
Yeah, it was bizarre.
Right. With me, we spend so many episodes of the podcast talking about like, oh, you identified this trauma within yourself and you basically, lately we're talking about you integrated, right? You allow that trauma to be part of you, right? And then, deep down you welcome it, right? You welcome it and you allow the trauma to be part of you.
Yeah.
And then, the extension point that he makes is that you allow yourself to actually fully continue to experience it as you go along, but without judgment of,
right,
this is, oh, I shouldn't do this, or I shouldn't be that, or look, I'm back in that place again, or look, this is some, right? Just that the vibratory field where you are and you recognize your being as a being on earth who vibrates out acceptance of self and then honestly thus others, because there's no such thing as rejection or not acceptance. Do you see what I
Well,
mean?
I guess judgment's the umbrella term for all of that.
Yeah, but not accepting someone means deep down you're judging them for their behavior, right? Or their color of their skin, or the country region that they live in, or the political regime that they apply to,
Sure.
whatever it is, right? Like when we went to Vietnam, right? Like the fact that that was the first time you were entering a communist country, that was like, you're like, I don't even know what to expect, right?
Yeah.
But is because deep down, I'm not saying you were not accepting of them, you were just curious. But somebody in the United States would be 120% against all things communism.
With my fair share of anti-communist propaganda, and I'm born in 1980, so this is into the Cold War. This isn't like 60s, 70s when it was really crazy.
Yeah, but in that case, that is a social norm,
social programming
through political systems.
Sure.
And religion is a social programming norms through religious systems.
Sure.
And you name whatever religion,
Right.
like deep down, Jesus, and Buddha did not want his teachings to be a religion. That is not the goal of Jesus.
Right.
Jesus is to know thyself, and you find your own path to know thyself. But here are rudimentary terms we will talk about as a group, right? That gets you thinking. That gets you thinking on your own path.
Right. It's a really individual and specific to you.
Yeah.
Path.
But you have a gathering.
It's
the only
not like,
reason you would have a gathering of a community is you would gather in order to retrospect your thoughts about self-knowledge and self-knowledge.
Share some experiences, share some stories.
Yeah, what you and I do,
Yeah.
when we shoot to shit right here, that's what that is, right? We just sit here and we explore the deeper nuances that we otherwise would have never explored.
Yeah.
And it just, it would have just been a brush through concept. But yeah, so judgment of lesser than comes out of acceptance or not acceptance of racism, of bigotry, of you name it, political, judgment against political parties, judgments against other religions, But all of that, think about as I'm talking about it, all of that is very simply identified in the vibratory field of tension. And it's easier to identify it in judgment, right? Because when you see judgment and where you go, oh, well, look, I'm judging, it is easier to accept the vibratory frequency of judgment because, like, energetically, I'm in tune to something that, oh, look, it doesn't feel great. It feels yucky.
Yeah.
But acceptance is still judgment.
Yeah. It's the judgment in the other way.
Yeah, it's the flip side of the same coin. That still is judgment laced in something that no one would ever say, what do you mean it's bad to accept?
Right. It's like, it's weird because it's like, I got two things to say. It's not that it's bad to accept. It's that accepting implies that you are differentiating.
Or you thought about rejection to begin with. Then therefore rejection exists within you.
And number two is there's this concept of like tolerance. I hate that word. I hate that word so much. There's a judgment there. Because it's like tolerance is like, to me, a step below accepting. It's like, oh, if I can accept something, but like tolerate means, I don't like it, but I'm not going to fight it. So there's like, whatever, there's some sort of like, isn't there like a museum of tolerance that's like some sort of Jewish memorial or something? And it's like, really, is tolerating the Jews, is that the baseline? We just need to tolerate them. Maybe it's not for. Maybe
remind me to tell you about the Jews later.
Remind me to tell you about that. I don't. I'm not a fan of the word tolerance in this capacity.
Wait, what is the Museum of Tolerance?
I'm gonna look it up.
It is
I think
teaching acceptance of Jews.
I think so.
You see,
But I'm like, but that is not the word I would use.
That's such a strange concept.
Museum of tolerance.
Why wouldn't be not like museum of inclusivity or acceptance of all? I mean, again, acceptance. I'm saying radical things here is actually laced in rejection. But if nothing else, we can at least pretend like we're accepting as opposed to tolerating.
Museum of Tolerance. It's in Los Angeles.
Oh wait, is that the one with the light with the light poles?
Dedicated to challenging visitors to understand the Holocaust in both historic and contemporary contexts and confront all forms of prejudice and discrimination in our world today. But
is that the one where the light poles are?
No, I don't see the light poles here.
For some reason,
I thought that was in front of the
Museum of Modern Art.
What's it, the Hammer Museum?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, the idea of anything being this way versus that way is within itself laced in judgment for something or against something. And then therefore, if you want to look at it from the larger standpoint, disruption and flow of the universal source that is love.
Yeah, I think there's a Kabbalion style message in here. If you take like acceptance and rejection as this continuum, right? In this like light to dark, good to bad, hot to cold, right? Of there is no absolute hot. Maybe there's an absolute cold, but so maybe that's not the right example. But, is there an absolute acceptance and an absolute rejection? I don't know. Like, can somebody be more accepting? I'm the most accepting person in the world. Well, I'm more accepting. So there's this, continuum to infinity on both ends. So all the way acceptance, all the way rejection. But like, is it better to move toward acceptance on that continuum? I guess that's better than rejection. But the master level class in that is to kind of rise above it and go, oh, look, I see this continuum, but I'm not going to play that game.
Yeah.
And by not playing that game, the whole concept of rejection and therefore acceptance as well kind of falls away. And you end up doing what looks to other people like acceptance. It looks like acceptance.
Yeah.
It is. If you looked up acceptance in the dictionary, that is probably what you would be doing at that time, at that level.
Yeah.
But it is a higher level function that has removed itself from that continuum of judgment.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it will look like acceptance.
Right.
Right. But that person who would be partaking in that level of acceptance at that point, wouldn't be in any vibratory way, thoughts or physical or emotional, thinking the thoughts of the duality split of possibility of anything other just being this way.
Right.
Right. There's not a thought behind it.
Right.
And that's, that's where everybody, I think, I'm not saying everybody's at that level and then therefore they get lost and then they just kind of drown in this versus that. But once you reach a certain point of understanding, you just understand that there's no effort to get there other than understanding and accepting self, probably for the rest of our lives, going to be swinging between some points of, look, my belief system and cultural upbringing, whatever, has me swinging towards the tendency of rejection here. And over here, I have this tendency towards, honestly, with me, there's no such thing as acceptance. It's just neutrality. So it's like, I will never accept. I'll just reject.
You'll tolerate.
I guess the tolerate, right? So, which is a fucked up notion within itself. But to accept that within me and just to recognize that as my truth automatically inserts that universal frequency of love into that concept. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
That concept becomes a conduit into generalized healthy way of vibrating. I'm not saying healthy like good versus bad. I'm just saying universal flow of energy is happening, yes or no.
Right.
And
Right.
acceptance of self as someone who has a tendency to judge or to reject or to stereotype or to have bigotry towards this group of people, that group of people, understanding that that is your tendency and then going, that's interesting. Obviously, probably not something that I want to promote forward, but that's interesting that it's still within me.
Yeah.
Within itself allows this universal ray of consciousness that quite literally you're bringing your consciousness into this space. And through that process, the reinforcement of that process, you will become more and more observer of those states that are split in this duality.
Yeah.
It is never a run against this side in order to make it to that side.
Yeah.
That's what I want to say.
There you go.
Right. From the hind plane side, what most people would go, oh shit, look, I grew up and I have been brought up to be a racist. And so what am I going to do? I'm going to go 100% the other direction. I'm going to fight against racism and I'm going to make sure that people know that I'm not racist, right? That is, obviously that will look positive and it will have a lot of positive impact, but it's done out of a wrong space.
Right.
Just simply not doing anything and recognizing the tendency and belief structures that cause you to behave out of that space is actually the healing process that causes the entire thing not to be there. So to your point, how does racism get started? Is it gets started by the idea of somehow this group
is bad or scary
or is going to hurt me or I'm going to be disenfranchised by this group because of X, right? And you go there,
right.
And then everybody else who goes, well, no, I'm not going to be a racist. I'm going to be pro that group. But they're propagating the same frequency, right? So we are reinforcing the same idea of racism or bigotry and hatred by the idea that I'm for it and this group is against it.
It's the same thing as the anti-war march. We're gonna fight the war. We're gonna fight against the war. We're gonna fight against cancer.
Yeah.
What I find to be helpful for these beliefs, whether it's racism against a certain group or whether it's I went to school with a guy with a kid who we were both kids at the time. He was a big Ford guy, right? So in I guess high school, right? Ford guy because his dad worked at Ford. And I eventually got a Mazda RX-7, and he was just so against the Japanese cars
because it was threatening to his well-being.
There you go.
I'm sorry.
Now I don't have to tell the story.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I mean, that's it.
Well, no, it's a personal story of how that functions itself.
Right.
But the world's full of those stories.
Right. And, I don't know his opinions on Chevy. We never really talked about it, but it was always that Jap crap's always broken down on the side of the road and this and that.
Jap crap.
It rhymed. So, that was funny. But, I could see it then that, the reason he's so married to Ford is because his family income is dependent on Ford. I understand that and I have compassion for that. But at the same time, implicit in that is, and there's no room for anybody other than Ford in the world. And any company that isn't Ford, whether that's Chevy, whether that's Mazda, whether that's Mercedes or Bentley, it doesn't matter. No room for them because everybody in the world needs to drive a Ford. Otherwise, ... I'm going to be on this. My whole family will be on the streets alone.
Well, he never got to that point as a child.
No, he never did.
But his parents, through social programming and through fear mindset, basically just trickled that into his belief system.
Right.
And I don't know, I'm hoping now that he's in his 40s, he's an adult and he realizes why. But as a child, it's difficult for you, right? And this is, going back to Osho's point, is like you become subject to these social norms or these brushstrokes of opinion because you just hear them from your parents or your friends or religious groups or political parties. Yeah. And as a child, you take it all on, right? and you don't have enough discernment
You're
to
just you're just a sponge as a child.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, I hear that black people aren't great. I just absorb that because that's what's being told. I also am told that the sky is blue and the broccoli is good for me. I just assume all these things are true because I'm 3 years old.
Yeah, no, but how many people, right? And the point here is how many children take that on, which let's say is some things unnecessary, like, oh, well, you should
Don't touch the hot stove.
don't touch the hot stove. Like that is a normal thing you need to do in order to survive, right?
Don't
Or
play in
make sure
traffic.
the lighter is the right direction before light it. There's that. But then how many of them step back and go, wait, what was actually the thought process of my family when they said that?
Right. That was where I was trying to go, is where did these seeds get planted?
In the childhood.
Yes, but everybody should do that to themselves. Whenever they have an influx of, oh, I don't like this person. I don't like this type of car. I don't like this war. I don't like this whatever. There's something in there that you're probably afraid of that feels unsafe. I understand the war feels unsafe. I get that. I can understand from this kid's perspective how, a friend driving a Japanese car is unsafe. And that's a really squiggly dotted line to get there, but I get it, right?
Yeah.
I can understand how, someone might think that whatever this race of people are unsafe. Maybe they had a personal experience with one person that just turned them off to the whole group. I don't know. But I would also say, have you not had a bad experience with your own race as well?
Yeah.
But I understand that these things kind of they're based in a version of reality where it makes enough sense to kind of perpetuate it through yourself and even generation to generation. But if it goes unobserved, uninvestigated, it just keeps going and going and going. And at some point, as adults, if not earlier, I really think everybody should be looking at those things, every one of them that triggers you, and going, where is this coming from? Is this really true? Is this actually true, or is this some sort of story that I was told or I made up in order to make myself feel a little bit safer in the world? Like I have a little bit more control in the world if I'm going to drive a Ford. I have a little bit more control in the world if I can move to an area with people who look like me. I feel safer in that capacity to investigate those things in yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we talked like last time we kicked out before when we didn't record on the idea that all of these like social norms or these like ideas can be very like I say high level, but really like low level, density based, and they're very particular to like your upbringing circles, right? Like me growing up in Ukraine, they're very, very nuanced based on my upbringing,
Right.
going through the change in the political system, Ukraine leaving Soviet Union, dropping communism, unsafety, lack of food, lack of resources, lack of money, in fact, currency disappearing, and then, like complete turmoil, right? And so all of that is extremely threatening, right? Like I can derive 100 different stories just like that of why I have enough evidence to justify feeling what I felt.
Everyone's got their reasons, and to them, the reasons make perfect sense and are completely logical and completely justified.
Yeah. So as we take on this brushstroke propagation of, let's say, fear, right, or bigotry, or hatred, or scarcity, or feeling unsafe, right, whatever it is, that's the vibratory tone that we first adapt in. Really, I think is our karmic lesson into this lifetime. Like into this lifetime, we came here to learn a specific lesson.
Yeah.
And the lesson with me is, feeling unsafe and having to basically jeopardize my entire life and craft everything possible through control or through vulnerability or the lack thereof or mistrust to feel more safe. Everything is how can I craft my entire life with all these little nuances and all of these little mirrors to feel more safe. Like, the mirror mazes, when you look at it,
it's like,
but when you look at it, there's like bajillion ways to go, but the truth is there's not really bajillion ways to go.
The thing,
but that's how it feels. It feels like it's a mirror maze. And because I came into a society, karmically, my soul came into an area of the world, right, of Earth, that had the most potential for that experience, right? I came into Sumy, Ukraine, and that was prime spot, let's say, if there's such thing as a spot, to have this very precise experience. And so the second I come in with that goal, everything I will take on through my parents, through the society, through the Communist Party, through my grandmother Nazi stories, through my father's Jew stories, all of those little stories will be basically fractalized into myself. Like the fractal will just basically pull itself into a narrative where this particular flavor of unsafety is my reality.
Yeah.
I will only, in fact, my goal is to only take on all the stories and see them in that light.
Yeah.
Right? Like yours is unloved.
Right.
And mine is completely unsafe.
Right.
And so everything that you will come on to experience will be filtered through this very narrow band of the universal interpretation of love.
Right.
In fact, in your case, there's no love. And
Right.
in my case, there's no safety.
Right.
Do you see what I mean?
Right. And the beginner level thing is to try to like go, oh no, I'm not gonna feel that. I'm gonna cut that off. I'm gonna deny that part of me or whatever. And it's only through accepting yourself as a whole that you can break through that. You can go, oh, I see where that's coming from. I see why I feel that way.
Wait,
and at the same time,
fact is, I actually went through the world making sure I reinforced those structures and beliefs to continue to feel that way.
That's the universe going, you still haven't learned it yet. You still haven't learned it yet. You still haven't learned it yet. This is the lesson you need to learn. We're going to keep giving you more stuff until you...
Or you haven't reached the depth to feel how you need to feel.
Sure.
In order to recognize that there's beauty in what you came here to learn.
Right.
Yeah. And so, so like the nuance of all of this, desire, hatred, judgment, acceptance, not acceptance, everything is laced through this lens of this, if you believe in karma or, whatever, Buddhist version of karma is different than most people would think what karma is. This idea of what it means for you to learn this path into a very particular set of experiences. That is my definition as Tanya on Earth, 2025.
Right.
And
everyone's their own special version of a soup of fucked upness.
Yeah, but
if you want to, judgment there.
Judgment there, but now I see it in the most beautiful way.
Mm-hmm.
And energetically, I can basically tell what's happening is we are taking the infinite amount of possibilities, infinite amount of variation, infinite amount of resources, just pure abundance, like just more abundance you can possibly imagine. And we are rejecting everything that does not fit into the mold where you are unloved in your case. And in my case, I'm unsafe.
Right. And
so nothing else can come in as long as we continue to spiral in this lesson of Earth 2025.
That's the real tragedy there is that, yes, we live in an amazingly abundant world and time. And yet we just continue to suck in more unlove and more unsafety and more whatever your special flavor is.
Yeah,
When there's so much out there.
yeah, but like now,
I know tragedy. There's judgment there.
Yeah. I don't even see it as tragedy. Like, that's why like my thought of interference is just now even more like, why bother? Is because I have no right to step in and decide what is good for someone, because I have no idea what their particular interpretation of limited reality should be or is. Do you know what I mean? Like it's easier with a stranger, right? But like with your own child, I have no right to tell him that he should or he should not do something, or he should believe this or believe that. I do not know what his flavor of earth interpretation needs to be, how deep he needs to feel whatever he came here to feel, in order for me to recognize that the only thing I can do is to just be there in the interpretation of light that I'm able to offer.
Right. And it's like, we can offer, well, here's my personal experience with this type of thing, or have you considered this? But it is hard to say, definitely do this or definitely don't do that.
Yeah, no, anytime I give like aid and advice, right? I say, you know what,
I was in a similar situation. Here's how it played out. Here's how it did. I'm happy or unhappy with the results. But that doesn't necessarily 100% translate into whatever his situation is.
No, I say this is like, this is, this is completely what my experience is, and my variance based on my interpretation of reality. But I actually usually say, yeah, but I have a tendency to feel unsafe. I have a tendency not to trust people. Feel a tendency to believe that, the world is not there to be kind to me. Do you know what I mean? And so if I judge everything through that lens, then I can say the action that I took stemmed out of these presets.
Yeah. Seeing that is super important.
And he doesn't have those presets. He has other presets. His life experience on earth came here to have other presets that, I obviously preset for him. And now that I have this larger idea of understanding of all of these possible interpretations of reality, I can say, well, okay, look, your preset looks like has, abandonment issues. So if you have an abandonment issues, I can extrapolate out and go, okay, here would be your tendencies, right? And I like Jungian style, I guess, or, whatever, if you want to refer to that, like archetypal style of like, okay, generally, if this is the preset, then you're more likely to do this, or you will be afraid of do that. And he listens to that and he takes that in. He goes, yeah, but there's also that. And also that I would have never thought of, because it didn't even come into my periphery that is something that you could feel or experience or know or think about.
Right.
But that is something that is purely his experience that I would have never even imagined him thinking or having, and just the nuance, right? The whole point of expansion of universal consciousness is to have the most detailed nuance be explored and propagated in expansion of data, right?
Yeah,
the most data expansion, like the fractal, those fractal things.
Prism?
Mandelbrot sets, right? That is the universe. The universe is expansion of data. The second you think you reach the point, the goal is to expand into its whole other universe.
Keeps going forever.
Yeah. So it's just, and that's how you do it. You have these nuanced thought, you have these nuanced opinions, but they're all based and laced in your karmic fluctuation of, this is the deepest extent I will take this particular thought.
Right.
And it's like the most minute and detailed thought, right? Like when you tell me like, oh no, it's not bad and it's not worthless, it's like unloved and whatever, right? Like the words just right kind of feed into this little tiny little flow, energetic flow that makes your particular set of experiences super narrow down to you.
Yeah.
And the other word doesn't even make sense.
Yeah,
like when I say like, oh, and worthless, you're like, no, that doesn't make sense.
And it's like, they're arguably synonyms, but it's like, there's a specific word that for everybody probably has a specific word or words that's like, oh, that's the word that, this is the knife in the heart.
Yeah. But if you can think of that as a Mandelbrot set, and it just feeds just the right way, because that this expansion point will expand it to its own universe based on particular set of words, and which is the language episode that we had is kind of funny because like in English it would be its own set of words, and for me in Russian it's its own set of words, and then like if I type in a Ukrainian word, I have a totally other feeling that is not even the same as the same word in Russian. Do you know what I mean? And it's so nuanced, and language comes in as this basically, how ironic is that, is a programming, right? Language programming.
Sure.
Why we call programming languages. I don't know. Do they still call them languages?
Yeah.
Because it is a programming. It is a set of commands that you follow to get down into the depth of your psyche. That is the Mandelbrot set.
What's with me, I don't have any examples, but there are words that I have learned. But in English, maybe I heard it for the first time, or a concept I heard for the first time, or maybe I was listening to a Russian or a Spanish audio thing, and I'll, like when I'm out on a run or out on a drive, and so there are words that are associated with a specific location to me, or a specific. They have their own baggage, good or bad. It's like, oh, I remember I learned this word at a stoplight, and so like if I hear that word, I'm like at a stoplight. So yeah, language
It's programming.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
And that's not to say that that's good, bad, right, wrong, but that's that comes along with the language to me.
Yeah. Yeah, but relevant or not, but computer programming just that. We just abbreviated terms now.
Yeah, which
instead of break, it's BR, and instead of paragraph, it's a P.
Yeah,
Do
sure.
you know what I mean? But that's the same thing.
Same thing with that. It's like there are language constructs and programming things that I have learned, and it's like when I use them, I'm like I'm taken back to when and where I learned them.
Yeah.
It's weird.
But think about when and where, in your opinion, holds space and time, right? This is a side note, but that is the window into that space and time.
Yeah,
so
no,
time traveling actually works that way.
Yeah, no, it's yes,
it's a signature, right? Like the emotional feeling that you have is actually a line that then you would use to assign signature to that spot, and then you can travel to specific spots based. So if you were to invent time travel or participate in time travel, if there are spots that have big signatures either for you or for the collective consciousness, it is much easier to travel into those spots when we first start to understand time travel. Later, like once you understand it, it doesn't matter. But remember my subway card. I know I'm on the side note. Remember my subway card? The idea of traveling to the spot, and there was a whole bunch of people that would get on the cart, and then the next stop would be X. That is the cumulative. We're using the power of cumulative consciousness to intentionally program the cart stop to be in this time and space, because we are programming the concept of a subway card traveling to that time as intentional vibratory field.
Right. And that doesn't feel far off of the, is it the Maharishi effect?
Yeah, that's the same thing.
Like, it's like, oh,
thing.
a whole
Instead
bunch
of time and space, it's a concept.
Yeah.
But time and space is a concept. There's no such thing as time and space. It's just a concept. Yeah. I know. Side noting into time travel here. Yeah, but exploring personal beliefs, right? Like we have 2 years into podcast now, exploring personal beliefs. And a lot of times when you start to open self up into that acceptance, right? Like you will have these bursts that come in and you're like, oh my gosh, I can just like see myself sitting right here in my household and I'm eating this and there's flavors of soups coming in. And then like, like, I don't know how detailed, but right now I can basically step into specific moments. And at first I would just like, have this general feeling of like, oh, that is how this room felt like. But now through this acceptance, I can go in and go, oh my gosh, I can literally look around and go, okay, here's what the table feels like.
Oh,
and
wow.
here's under my feet feels like.
Yeah.
And here's the scent of the room, the house, based on what I'm eating and what has been cooked and the combination thereof.
Interesting.
And here's the vibratory frequency of how my grandma is right there next to me. And then the cupboard behind me smelled a specific way. And there's the feeling of the old jar. Do you know what I mean? Like the amount of nuance.
You can go there.
You can go there.
Back in the day, maybe there still are, there were Saturday morning cartoons, and I would wake up. I would not want to wake up any day except Saturday. I would wake up early, like early being like, I don't know, 6:37 or something. And I would get me a bowl of dried Cheerios, and I would lay there on the floor, like hands or chin in my hands on my belly, eating my dried Cheerios and watching Scooby-Doo and Smurfs and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
To the point where sometimes I would just sort of have a handful and I just sort of shove them into my face, and I would get a little rash around my face where all the Cheerio sticky honey sugar stuff, honey nut Cheerios, of course. But yeah, I can go right there, and it's like the Cheerios, the crumbs are getting into the brown 1980s carpet, and I'm like, that's whatever. Yeah, no, Cheerios take me right there.
Yeah, but right, it is such a hard imprinted memory that for you to then explore it, let's say, right? But let's be honest, like time travel into that spot, that is the energetic intake it would take for you to be able to go there, right? And so that the nuance of memory you can recall, I say memory, but actually start having familiar experiences that actually stretch beyond your actions as a child laying there, like start to
visualize,
redefine concepts of time and space.
Yeah, no, maybe we're completely off topic. I can go there, and I can like basically get up and walk around and look at that room.
Yeah,
that's fun. Huh.
No, but energetically, right? We have these energetic influxes of good and bad, judgment and acceptance of Fords and Mazdas or whatever it is, right? But all of those are there as predetermined presets to follow the Mandelbrot set just the right way in order to limit us being able to ascend up it and feel the rest of the universe without any presets. And the second you think of the reality as such, then you would only be able to leave that space once you actually realize that that's what reality is.
Yeah.
But you will only leave that space once you're accepting of the entire Mandelbrot set of your pain, body, and trauma and feelings, everything you have spent time not accepting. Once you explore the depth of all of those little nooks and crannies, not through like reliving that, but through accepting them as the identity and the cumulative experience of you as Elliot and me as Tanya, you can then transverse this entire path and then in fact go to any other.
Yeah. And when you say accept, you mean the higher level. Accept.
Well, just, people use the word integrate.
Maybe that's a better word than accept.
But accept in the sense that, there you go, the K-pop Demon Hunter style, right? Well, no, it's extremely applicable, and it's, raging at this time right now because it is for children touching on this concept, right? It's introducing children to the concept of what does it mean for me to release what was the song that she sings at the end that says like, this is me without the lies, right? But the lies is unacceptance of self, rejection of self.
Right. And so we pretend to be something else for
Yeah. And in
for
her
our
case, it's
benefit or
very,
for someone else's benefit.
yeah, in her case, it's very obvious and very cartoon-like that she is a demon. But that is the truth that we assign.
Spoiler alert.
That's the truth that we assign to ourselves, is we demonized ourselves. And we spend 40 years, that's worst case scenario, best case scenario, you spend just enough time to understand that you're going to demonize yourself and reject all these portions of you.
Yeah.
So then you go, oh, look, that is a way for me to explore the depth of pain or suffering or unsafety or feeling unloved, right? Because you can only explore that depth when you reject and you go into the depth of you are trying not to feel it, but then basically the goal of self is to always feel it. You will always feel it, always feel it. Everything will be seen through the lens of that.
Yeah.
And only when you realize that that's the process is to explore to such a depth that you're lost in it, right? You're just drowning in it. And then, usually people have the breakthroughs when the depth of the drowning happens.
Yeah.
You don't have to get to the drowning. You don't have to drown. But
there's that scene in that movie where Rumi is talking with her mentor person, who I think was a previous generation of demon hunter.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point she's like half demon and half not, right? She's like kind of emerged, which is the movie's way of portraying who she really is.
Mm-hmm.
But and her mentor's like, oh, we just need to do this, and then we can fix you, and then everything will be okay. And it's just really, it's really obvious that Rumi's like, but you don't accept me,
all of me.
You're
She
only
expects the
accepting
good
this
portion.
part of me, and then this other part we're just gonna like pretend it's not there, or fight it off, or try to destroy it, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
No, that's a really powerful scene.
Yeah. No, but that is what this discussion is that we separate and segregate self by defining ourselves, demonizing ourselves into, oh, these are all the bad portions of me that I'm going to pretend are not there, right? In my case, like, oh, I don't trust people and I feel unsafe, and everything stems out of that, right? But instead of realizing that about myself, I reject all the ways that I apply that to the world, like all the ways I filter that into my Mendelbrot set, right? Versus just seeing it for what it is. Like I say, integrating it or accepting it, whatever you want to call it, but not accepting it as opposed to rejecting it, just being the full self, the wholeness of yourself, right? And that is what we're going through right now. Like as far as majority of people who are changing the vibrational frequency are in that space. So, the example, remember we talked, I guess just last time we got out, we talked about Anthony Bourdain, right?
Yeah.
And, he's been dead for at least, I don't know, 10 years, maybe.
Yeah, probably.
Right. But for I guess for those who don't know, he used to have this like cooking travel show, I guess, kind of sort of.
I think he kind of pioneered the cooking travel show.
Yeah. And it was called Parts Unknown. And so he would go to these usually remote parts of the world and like connect with the people there and talk about their food. But it was more like their culture.
Yeah, it was a cultural thing that also touched on food. It was a great show.
Yeah. But he like captivated the world because he always functioned in this almost at the breaking point darkness.
Yeah.
His entire...
He was really troubled.
Yeah, so it was basically like depressed 100% of the time, and his entire show was basically him, but he was raw. He was really raw. Yeah. And so it was just him raw, I'm assuming always depressed, traveling through the world, experiencing the world, but at the same time, that show caused him to basically get to the point where he committed suicide. And that's what I mentioned is the depth of the low, right? Like whatever his parameter, his karmic parameter that he came here to experience, that seeing the world as not being able to offer anything real, right?
Yeah.
That was his exit point at which he decided he didn't see the world as being able to offer it anything real. He saw it all as fake. He saw it all as pretend and painful and hurtful, and he couldn't see the light. So he was so far down in his Mandelbrot set of just seeing the world as this broken place, and obviously him traveling to all of these broken places.
I think the whole point of the show was that he's like, oh, I can get paid to go around and maybe I can find someplace that's real.
I think he was looking for it. But every time he went to a place, because that is what he was looking for, and he was trying to find that solution in the show, because he was not going into the awareness, he was only seeing everything through this filter of despair and darkness.
Yeah.
As opposed to, Gabe, coming back to the K-pop situation, seeing the light and the darkness in the light, seeing the beauty as it presents itself through his lens of darkness.
Right.
The same experiences could have been seen by someone else through some other lens as experiences of light, but he only saw them as experience of darkness.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying they're all hunky-dory, right?
Right.
But
they're all real, and they're all there here for a reason.
So that acceptance of the entire cycle of life, which is difficult, right? Because you have to accept the light and the dark, if that is indeed how you see the world. ... I mean, that's kind of like the caveat, that if that is indeed how you see the world, you have to accept yourself to be your Mandelbrot set of experiences that see the world through the darkness. And you actually have to accept yourself as that person.
Yeah.
Which is right. Like, I'm not saying like just go ahead and dive into your depression, which is where he was, but recognize the beauty and how deep he felt the depression that basically, in his case, ended his life.
Right. And that's another thing that's like subtle and maybe not
it's
easy
difficult
to
accept.
wrap your head around and do. But it's like to be able to see the beauty in something that is, objectively bad, to see the beauty in the war, to see the beauty in, the kids starving, to see the beauty in this stuff. It's not an easy thing to do.
No.
It's not obvious at all.
No. I mean,
that doesn't mean that you can't take action to do something about it. But
taking action, in Osho's book, he talks about there's this idea of once you accept yourself, again, higher level accept, once you integrate yourself and you see all the parts of you, right? He doesn't say this, but I will just kind of like loop it back into our discussion. You connect to the universal consciousness that is pure light, right? Your reality shifts because all of a sudden your entirety is experiencing the energy that you came here to facilitate. Like in this lifetime, you did not come here to die through a suicide because you felt depressed about the world being so ugly, right? You came here to bring in the rays of light, right, through integration, full integration.
And I mean, with him as in particular, it's like he had the potential to influence people and make positive changes as well.
Well,
right?
No,
he had gotten himself.
Not even potential. He did.
Right. He had gotten.
He didn't see the beauty in that.
Into the position where he can make things better.
And he did.
Yeah,
he did. But he didn't see the beauty in that, right? He didn't see the beauty that he has over 12 years of the show, and he's has a huge audience, and he has this huge voice, and people listen to him, and he's not a bullshitter. He's just going to cut straight to the point. And then there's truth in that, right? There's the truth, and the truth travels far, right?
I mean, if nothing else, we still make a cabbage salad recipe.
Yeah,
from,
no,
from
every
one
time.
of his first episodes.
Yeah, like 2 days ago, I just told me that cabbage salad. It's never the same because he has tea leaves that, was part of the ingredients. So
fermented tea leaves. Never found those.
I have no idea what those are. But, I have all kinds of substitutes that I put in there in order to make it work.
Vegan fish sauce.
Yeah, there's the too. Yeah, but I think it was Thai, right? Was it Thai or Malaysian? I think maybe Malaysian or Thai.
It was somewhere over there.
Yeah, but it was first episode, first season, and we've been making that salad for over 10 years before we were even vegan. So saying something. No, but right, the goal, I say goal, right? If there's a goal, once you integrate and you basically find yourself without the lies, right? Going back to K-pop references here, or Jungian shadow integration, right? You see yourself as this complete being. You see all of these little points of what you in the past interpreted as darkness as your superpower, right? Like, because you're able to transverse this Mandelbrot set that is the entire experience of you.
Yeah.
And that becomes your superpower because, you can transverse this entire line. And then you become a vibrational being at a different set of frequencies. You dimensionally change the format in which you function. So he said, this is going back to what I was trying to say, is Jesus and Buddha were in that spot. They were in the spot where they were above the split of duality, and they were completely integrated in their own truth, right? And this is, you and I talked about subjective versus objective truth. In their very real truth that is the universal light. And at that point, it does become objective because the objective in the sense that there's a universal light.
Yeah.
And then you can subject that in any way you want. You kind of become the master. And his point is, once you reach that point, you're like, well, how can I not go fighting war? Because then the war will always be there. Well, the war is there because the war is within you because you believe in such concept as war or no war. But once you ascend and integrate the concept of you that causes that reality to be there, you're in your own vibrational set of experiences that quite literally manifest and dictate the outcomes that you want to seek. And, miracles or magic is then what is experience. And this is not to say that all of a sudden, like it's all woo-woo. It is always woo-woo. You just taking that woo-woo and you're channeling in the very, by your standards, undesired way.
Right.
And in this case, what you're doing is you're not inventing the woo-woo. You're just going, oh, I will just take this woo-woo from this undesired way that now I realize, yeah, I have been just manifesting this very specific woo-woo undesired way.
Turns out I've been wooing more unsafety and more unloved into my life.
Yes. And so you take that, you transverse that Mandelbrot set back, which gives you the ultimate understanding of what is it you have been doing, right? Self-responsibility through the understanding of self. Gnosis of self creates automatic responsibility. And then you see the vibratory field that you're selecting to choose as your reality, right? And then now you basically can step back and go, yeah, I can select to choose whatever. But in truth is, usually you don't want to choose anything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. You just let the universe flow because the universe knows best.
Yeah. Well, because you're tuned into the highest outcome that has no need to be chosen. Because the universe actually flows out of that space. So you ascend up, let's say if you want to call it higher dimensional frequency, into higher dimensional frequency. And he said that regardless of what Jesus and Buddha face in their life, they cannot be swayed away from their center point of truth. I'm paraphrasing here. But if you think about Jesus, right, like what was Jesus known for? Like, oh no, he's just love and light. So like no matter what comes at him, he's love and light. Not because there's no such thing as darkness or despair by someone else's standard. He overrides the standard by being in a place where everything is love and light, including the darkness.
Well, there's a story of I think this is the moment when Buddha reached enlightenment. He's sitting meditating underneath the Bodhi tree, and I think he was doing it for days or something. And he's sitting there in the lotus position, and like I don't remember who it was. evil spirit demon thing comes, and the goal is to distract him, to take him away from enlightenment. And it comes and it can't distract him, and so it goes and it comes back with this army of 50,000 soldiers and 10,000 elephants and whatever it is, right? And Buddha just sits there, and with his right hand he just touches the ground with his 3 fingers, 4 fingers, 2 fingers, right hand. So whenever you see the Buddha, he's sitting there, and his right hand is touching the ground, and that was like his message to I don't remember who the demon was. Message is like, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. And that was like the moment of his enlightenment. So he literally faced an army and didn't back down.
K-pop demon style. 100%.
What's that?
Yeah, but facing an army metaphorically representing what? Is it that's self? The army is self.
The army, I think that's everything everything inside of you fighting against your, I don't know if enlightenment's the word we want to use, but acceptance, right?
Yeah, like that higher acceptance.
Yeah. I mean, because I think that's really what enlightenment is acceptance.
Integration, acceptance,
so
gnosis, gnosis, and then transversing the gnosis.
Before that, you're still divided, and that army is the two sides, the fight within, the two sides of you trying to battle it out. No, I'm the good side. No, I'm the bad side. I need whatever.
Yeah. I mean,
but that's just the moment of integration right there.
Yeah, but the whole teachings, like just this, if you take religions for what it's supposed to be, are these like brushstroke generalized teachings of truth, without all the bullshit of control. What the demon and the angel on your shoulders are you, right? And you're listening to both, and knowing that you have these tendencies and then you have these tendencies, right? There you go. Last episode, we talked about the Cambodian temples, right? All the Buddhist temples and Hindu temples are these balance of light and dark, but they're all one. Same thing with Taoism and the yin and yang representation, right? They're just all one. But to reach that understanding, you almost have to go through all of these nuances, how you're splitting that oneness away from itself. And at some point, very lost to the idea that there is even a light.
Yeah. No, right? At times it feels, lost.
Like if you look at Anthony Bourdain's path, right? Like he was at the point where there was so much darkness interpreted by his reality that he doesn't even understand that there's light. Right?
Yeah.
Right. And then at some point you go, okay, if you're on the path, okay, people are like, oh, I'm going to reject my darkness and I'm going to try to do all of these things that society thinks are light, right? Like you think that that's the way to go. Right. And you start like rejecting fear and you start rejecting judgment and you go, oh, I'm not going to say these things and I'm not going to vibrate that.
But like it's done out of like this like forced, I'm going to, I feel it, but I'm not going to feel it. I'm going to.
Well, it's the Osho's point that in acceptance there is rejection, right? That lower level vibratory
it's like
field.
A forced acceptance. It's like like
this is not to pick on Louis Hay, but Louis's Hay style of like attraction is that if I'm going to say that I'm abundant enough times, then abundance will come my way. But at the same time, you're rejecting the portion of self that actually doesn't feel abundance. So the reason why I don't believe in manifestation like that, because it's never integration.
It's a fake it till you make it.
Yeah, right. And I don't know how that works. I don't think it works.
There's something to it, but it's like the beginner level stuff.
Yeah, I just don't. It's not sustainable, right? If it works.
Yeah, no. If
it's the universe giving you grace, and giving you a break because you're probably crying and praying to death. But it is not a solution out.
Yeah. If what you're doing every day is denying a half of yourself over and over and over, eventually that will collapse. Yeah. That is not sustainable.
Yeah. And so not seeing that even there is a light, seeing the hope of light, but then rejecting the darkness and following on that path. At some point, then you reject, or that you try to understand the darkness within you, and you're trying to somehow bring cleaning or cleansing to it, right? Like we spend a lot of time on that path. And then at some point you realize, oh no, it is complete integration. It's actually not cleaning the darkness off, not understanding and then therefore making it go away. It's just total embracing of this portion of me. Like, this is what makes me me.
Yeah.
But
Embracing might be better than accepting.
Yeah. And then once that embracing happens, then spending time in a place where you are simply allowing your truth to be you, and you welcome the entire set of experience of you in all of these forms, and spending enough time there, and in that space, you will be able to feel the most amount of universal force come through to you, and actually start to seep into the portion of rejections of you that you have been shutting yourself off of. And then through that, right, then the entire reality shifts. And quite literally, dimensionally, you will be functioning at a different.
Yeah.
Again, this is not the goal, but
it's a side effect.
It's a side effect that you're functioning at a different form of vibratory field, where I'm not saying we will all become Jesus and Buddha, but I actually think we will. For those who have this path in their life, they will be dissuadable from the universal truth of light, because their truth encompasses their entire reality of being, that is an integrated portion of them as a first, a three-dimensional being that is charged with this energy, and two, the ascension of this energy into a fifth-dimensional space. Now, I use three-dimensional, fifth-dimensional terms very loosely here. So I wouldn't marry the 3 and 5s and all the numbers, but just a dimensional raise in the frequency to where you are an integrated being. I mean, and now that I feel where we're going, it's like larger than life.
Right.
It's larger than life. What at first you felt was basically the depth of larger than life forms of despair when you reject itself, to all of a sudden larger than life forms of life, possibility. I don't know if that you can feel that or not, right?
Yeah, no,
but at the lowest point of self, whatever you can feel that is the depth of your pain and suffering, now it's at that same time the most glorious moments.
Right. That's where the magic happens.
Through that, like integrated through that,
mm-hmm.
Which is
right, because it's not at all obvious that that's where to go.
Well, you don't go there; it just happens.
Yeah, but it's not at all. I understand how the path that we happen to have gone on, and the path that I think most people go on is step one is, oh, I don't like this part of me, so I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm just going to cut that off.
Mm-hmm.
It's really obvious that is the obvious place to go.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
I don't want to feel that anymore. So nobody wants to feel that. Just pretend we don't feel that. Well, you still feel it. It's still in there. It's still in your subconscious, and it may even be in your conscious. You're just la 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 la.
Yeah. No, now having gone through this and transversed this, and I'm not saying there's such thing as done. There's no such thing as done, but just understanding the process, the transverse process of this integration. You can basically see that is what Jesus's frequency is, or the Buddha frequency is, or any sage, that has risen into fifth dimensional consciousness or higher dimensional consciousness. That's what it is. Complete acceptance of self, but not for the point of complete acceptance, just because it happens naturally when you choose acceptance.
Yeah.
That you said as if that's the end. So.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.